This is Olivia Osgood, and you are listening to the How to Quit Working Show. I'm glad that my mommy's an entrepreneur so that we get to spend lots of time together and she gets to homeschool me.
This is the How to Quit Working Show. Jeff Steinman believes entrepreneurship is the only true path to freedom. That's why he created the How to Quit Working Show, where you'll hear stories, insights, and inspiration from lifestyle fanatics who left their soul-sucking 9-to-5 job forever. Now, here's your host, author, entrepreneur, and ultimate lifestyle fanatic, Jeff Steinman.
Hello, I'm Heather Osgood with the How to Quit Working program. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm the host of the Friday episode of the How to Quit Working show. If you haven't had a chance to join the How to Quit Working Circle, I would like to encourage you to do that. Through the How to Quit Working Circle, you can have access to our Facebook group, which is a whole lot of fun. If you are feeling alone or isolated in any way, the Facebook group is a great opportunity for you to connect with like-minded people just like yourself who are interested in starting or growing their businesses. If you have questions, if maybe you just designed a new logo and you want us to take a look, if you're launching a new website and you're interested in several hundred pair of eyes looking at your site, the Facebook group is a great place for you. You will also, when you're a member of the How to Quit Working Circle, have access to some free training videos, which are really very dynamic and can help you get to where you'd like to be. So if you haven't joined the How to Quit Working Circle, I would encourage you to go to howtoquitworking.com/circle and join that today. I have a little bit of a different topic for us today. I don't know what percentage of our listeners are female and what percentage are male, because that is a difficult thing for us to tell. But we had a question in our Facebook group from Patty. And Patty, I hope you're listening to this, and I wanted to address that issue. And the question from Patty was, as a woman and as a business owner, how do you find kind of the time and the space from, working at your home to be a business owner while trying to balance kind of all of your other domestic duties with your spouse, with your husband, with your children? And I know as a wife and a mother and a business owner that for me, it has certainly always been a challenge. And I've been able to employ some different tactics to really address that. And I wanted to share it with you guys today. So just a little warning, this certainly will be, a great podcast for female listeners. Now, if you are a husband and you have a wife who is an entrepreneur, I would just highly encourage you to listen to this. Or if you are a husband and you're experiencing a lot of these similar issues as maybe the entrepreneur in the relationship, this will be good for you as well, because really it could go either way, right? The reality is that when you work at home, you are surrounded by all of this kind of household chaos. And a good example for you is, I have to say, my kids both started school today and I am on cloud 9. I am super, super excited to have them at school to really just give me some time to focus in on growing my business and just doing all of the things in my company that I want to do. It's been a terrific summer, but I am so thrilled that my kids are in school. But of course, after I drop my kids off at school, I come home and what do I see? I see the breakfast dishes, I see toys scattered around, and I think, I'm just going to pick these up real quick. Won't that be great to have a clean house? Well, 35 minutes later, I have a clean house, but I also have taken time away from really focusing in on growing my business. So whether you have a spouse that's pressuring you or whether you're just working from home, finding that kind of really that place to carve out time where you just are dedicated to money-making, business-growing activities can be really, really challenging. And if you are someone who is an employee right now and you're thinking, what I would like more than anything is to work at home. I just think that it would be the greatest thing in the world. I can tell you that it is certainly a lot of fun. I enjoy really kind of the freedom, the flexibility that it has provided. I, spend hardly anything on gas because I really leave the house very infrequently. And when I do, I don't travel very far. So, there's a lot of great, aspects to working at home. On the flip side, I'm at at the house all the time. So there can be downsides to that as well. Like, how do you get out of the house? How do you get socialized? How do you network with people within your community and within the business environment? When you're just at home and you're just working on your business, that can be a real challenge. And then you have all of just the regular household things. And for me, I have found that it is a struggle because of the pressure that my spouse puts on me, but it can also be a struggle because of the pressure that I put on myself. So I want to have a clean house. I want it to be neat and organized. And when I am in an environment where it is messy and chaotic, it can be very challenging to focus. And when you have an office that you actually go to, it can be a lot nicer to really have that separation. So as you're kind of thinking about creating your business, or if you're in a place where, maybe you have an office right now and you're thinking, wouldn't it be great to work at home? Or maybe you're at home and you're thinking, wouldn't it be great to have an office? There are certainly pros and cons to both of them. And I believe that really what is most important, and what I want to start off with today, is really just encouraging you to think about the goals that you have set in your life. So I recently read actually a marriage book, and it was talking about kind of the concept that we should each have core values in our life. So if that's something that you've never heard of, or if it's something that you've never done, I want you to really think about what that means. And what a core value really is down deep what is most important to you. So if you think about the core values in your life, those core values could represent things like it's important to me to always be honest. It's important to me to always show the highest level of respect for other people in my interactions with them. It's important that I am, a man or woman of my word, that I have a very high level of integrity. It's important to me that I set goals, that I accomplish those goals, and that I'm hardworking. It's important to me that I love and cherish the people around me. Those could be maybe some of the core values that you have. You might say, one of my core values is that in all my communication, I strive to be clear and concise with my words. I strive to seek to be, to understand the other person before I am understood, one of Stephen Covey's tenets that I absolutely think is fabulous. So really kind of think about what your core values are in life. And core values and goals are certainly different. Core values are kind of like the undercurrent of who you are and really what is propelling you forward. And in any given situation, in any interaction that you have with a person, be that a friend, a spouse, a child, a customer, a vendor, anyone, that you have core values that you want represented. So if it's most important to you to always be clear, concise, and understood, are your email interactions really clear, concise, and understood? Are your voice messages? So, just thinking through kind of what those different really motivators are for you in life is super, super important. And if you haven't done that, really take some time to think through that. And I would also encourage you to write those out. And then goals really are the kind of the things that you would like to accomplish. I have a goal to start a business. I have a goal to get to $10,000 a month in income. I have a goal to plant a vegetable garden. I have a goal to make sure that my sink doesn't have dirty dishes in it for more than 5 hours before they're done, or whatever. And I'm talking a lot about household today, so I'm going to integrate some of that into the conversation. But you can really have these goals that are the guidelines for your activities, and you need to get really kind of clear on what those goals are. Now, in terms of interaction with you've got basically these three big kind of buckets that we're going to be looking at today. You have the bucket that is your business, right? So all of the goals, all of the excitement, the possibilities, the motivation, everything that you have for your business. And then you have kind of the bucket of your spouse, right? Or significant other, a relationship that you have where, certainly you have goals for that relationship as well. And you have desires to make that a very strong relationship relationship. And then third, we're going to be talking a little bit about your children, right? And kind of the interactions that you have with them. So as you're looking at these three segments of your life, you want to make sure that you do have really specific goals for them. And I think that a lot of us have pretty clear intentions created around what we would like in our business, right? We think, well, maybe this is the type of business I want. This is the income that I want. This is the service that I would like to provide. And even if it's not something written down, it is most often something that you have in your mind that you know kind of exists. But what I found is that most people don't have very clear goals for their relationships with their spouse and their relationship with their children. And it's really important for you to think about nurturing that relationship with your spouse. And one of the things that has kind of come to the forefront for me in recent weeks is that it's important for me to be the kind of spouse that I want to be married to, right? So if I want somebody who's always complaining, if I want somebody who really feels like, they're never doing enough or they're never good enough, or, maybe I don't like the way that they speak to me, or I don't like, a habit that they have. Obviously, with anybody that you live with for an extended period of time, there's going to be some irritation and conflict that is going to occur. And certainly in a spouse situation, that is just escalated. And that really, it all plays into kind of what our culture perceives your relationship should be like, right? So depending on what society or cultural norms you have that you've grown up with, so you're bringing to your relationship all of kind of the expectations that you were raised with about how a husband or a wife acts. And so each of you come into this relationship with a set of expectations, and it's very easy to expect that your spouse is going to do something without verbally communicating that to them. And you just assume that, well, gosh, growing up, my dad always took the trash out. So that's something that a man does, right? A man takes the trash out. If you never verbally communicate to your husband that that's an expectation you have, then how are they supposed to know to meet that? And vice versa. If you have, if you're a husband and you have a wife and your mom always made dinner every night and it was on the table by 5:15, then you are going to have that expectation that your wife is going to do that. And where all of the lines kind of get blurred, I believe, is with kind of the working woman. So as we look at the progression of history and the changes that have occurred in relationships, we can see that there was an expectation that women did certain tasks and that men did certain tasks. But as we have kind of this, huge integration of women into the working place, it really, unfortunately, what has happened in a lot of situations is that the woman is now expected to perform all of her duties as a wife and a mother, and then she's also expected to perform all of the duties of an employee or a business owner, depending on the position you're in. And there aren't always allowances that are provided enough, in my opinion, for women being in the workplace, right? Or for women who are really working to create a business or create an income for their family. So it's important that you have a good conversation with your spouse about what your expectations are, what are the roles. And even if you've been married for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, like however long you've been married, still address that conversation and still talk about what are your expectations of that person. And then getting back to my original point, really think about the type of relationship that you want to have and work to create that. If you want to have a relationship with your spouse where you are always just super excited to see them and you're happy to spend time with them, go out of your way to be that person. And I find that I do that a lot, especially with kids. The kids are so overwhelming. The kids are so vocal. They're so in your face that it's so easy to pay attention to your kids. And then it's like, oh gosh, like I've been home for 30 minutes and I haven't even said hello to my husband because I've been so focused on my kids. So what are you doing to really live out that core value as a spouse, and how are you contributing to that relationship? And then addressing the children last, really thinking about what goals do you have for them? What do you want to teach them? So my opinion is that as a parent, it is your responsibility to teach your child to be the type of person that you believe is going to be best so that they can serve society in a very productive way. So as they're growing, it's your job to guide, teach, and instruct them to become the type of people that you want them to be. So I know that it might sound like a little harsh to say, oh, well, you should have goals for your children, but I think it's a really good idea. I actually have created a list of about 25 different things that by the time my kids move out of the house, I want to know that they know and understand all of these things. And I have an 18-year-old who just graduated from high school, and I'm like, oh my gosh, have I taught him all of this? Because the reality is he's going to junior college now and still living at home, but in a couple years or maybe 6 months, who knows, he isn't going to be living at home anymore, and it's going to be much more difficult for me to guide, instruct, and teach him when I don't see him for as many hours as I do now. So really thinking about that. So get really clear on the business goals that you have, get clear on the goals that you have, and expectations, core values that you have around your marriage, as well as goals that you have set around your children and your parenting. So it's really important for you to do that first and foremost. And next, I really think that it's super, super important for you to create boundaries. As a person who is working at home, especially, it is important for you to say, this is a clear boundary that I have created. Now, I stumbled across a gentleman yesterday, and I was listening to some of his podcasts, and he's a business owner, and he said he had 5 children, and he's, I would say, very successful within the online space. And he made a comment that he typically stays at the office until 3 a.m. I think that is absolutely ludicrous. I am not in a position, nor do I ever desire to work all night long. I love my business. I love growing the business, and I truthfully could probably work in the business 2 or 3 times as much as I do because I have a spouse and children. But if I were just a single person, I can guarantee you I would work a ton. But for me, that is extreme, and that isn't what I want. To me, that isn't creating boundaries. And I know that I've talked a lot about having kind of continuity within your life. So it's important for you to really, in my opinion, I really value kind of the idea that I can go from thing to thing fairly seamlessly in my life. So when I work at home, I can very easily go from I just cleaned the kitchen to now I'm recording a podcast. You know, I'm going to have a coaching client here in 30 minutes, and then I'm going to go to a networking lunch. You know, I can create all kinds of different in and outs throughout my day, and that's fine. And I enjoy that. I enjoy kind of the seamlessness of my life, moving from activity to activity, whether it be a household activity, whether it be a child rearing activity, whether it be a business creation activity, because to me, I'm an integration of all of those people. And that's what's so special about being a business owner, is having that integration, right? Like when you have a job, you have to be there from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, or whatever your hours are. There is that expectation you're going to put in a certain number of hours. When you're a business owner, you can do whatever you want to do. Now, if you have 100 employees, obviously that's going to create different constraints on your life and your time and your schedule. Expectations are going to be different for you than if you're a solopreneur. That again gets back to what exactly it is that you want in life and how are you creating it, which is super, super important. But as you're looking at kind of the situation and balancing the idea of working at home and being the spouse that you want to be and also being the business owner you want to be, that's when it's really important to create boundaries. And it's important for you to really set the expectation, again, with your spouse, that this is what you're going to be doing, that you are not going to be able to do the dishes, every day and have them all done by a certain time. You're not going to be able to have all the laundry folded. You're not going to have a hot meal on the table at 5 p.m. or whatever it is that they want. it's important that you say, these are the things that I can do, right? So while I'm at home and because I'm working, I can very easily do 3 loads of laundry, but the laundry won't be folded. So if you want me to put the laundry through the washer and dryer while I'm at home, that's not an issue. And really for you, it's important for you to sit down and say, what are my personal expectations? So what do I want to do? If I do the laundry while I'm working today and I fold it this evening, then that's going to help me get a task completed that needs to be done. And that works for me. That works within my schedule. Or eating really healthy is important for me. And part of the reason that I'm a business owner is because I want to be able to spend an hour making breakfast, an hour making lunch, and an hour making dinner, or whatever it is that you want to invest, because that's important to you. So you have to really kind of go through and decide what's important, but it's so valuable and so necessary for you to create space for your company. Because what is so easy to have happen is, you can start cleaning the house, you can start doing laundry, you can start doing yard work or whatever, and all of that is right here, right? And it's so easy for you to just jump in and do that. And here, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours go by, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, what have I done on my business today? And at the end of the day, if you're choosing to be a housewife, or if you're choosing to be a house husband, or whatever your choice is, that is just fine. But I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, that isn't a choice that you're making. You are making a choice to be a business owner. And being a business owner means that you have to create those clear boundaries to have the space to actually do what it is that you need to do. So get really clear on those boundaries, what they should be, and how to create them. Next, I think it's really for you to be very clear with your spouse about income creation. When you start a business, you are not going to be making the same amount of money that you would if you were in corporate America. Now, of course, there are situations and clients that I've had where in 3 months they're making money, in 6 months they're making money, but in most cases, it takes you generally between 6 months and a year before you're actually producing income. And I would venture to say at least a year to replace the income you've had, if not 2 years. Obviously, it depends on what you're doing, the speed of which you're doing it at, and are you maintaining your job while creating business? There's a lot of factors that go into that income creation. However, it's important for you to share with your spouse what your income creation goals are. And it really totally differs if your spouse is very on board and very supportive with your activity, or if they're like, well, gosh, if you were working a job, you'd be making so much more money. If there's somebody that really doesn't understand your drive and your desire to have a business and to be a business owner, your job is going to be a little bit more difficult, right? The ability to communicate to them and allow them to really see and understand the value of what you're doing is going to be more difficult for sure. But it's important for you to be clear with them. And it's important for you to say, okay, we have decided as a couple, because at some point they've obviously agreed that this is something that they're going to let you kind of do, or that you're both okay with you doing. You're going to have to sit down and look at it. Okay, for the first 3 months, I don't expect to make a penny. Within the next 90 days, I expect that maybe I'm going to be making $500 a month. And then at this point, I think I'm going to get to 1,000. And at this point, I'm going to get to 2 or whatever. So you have very clearly laid out what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be creating it. I have found for both myself and my husband that when our businesses are producing money, suddenly having that person working in that business becomes much more important, right? And I have to say that, it goes both ways. My husband has an e-commerce business that we work on together, but it's his primary focus. And when he's not making any money, or when he started and he wasn't making any money, I was getting frustrated with him, right? I'm like, come on, dude, let's get the ball rolling. Let's do some stuff. Let's get this thing producing some income. And it was frustrating to me because I felt like he was taking much longer doing things than I wanted him to do. And so it was very easy for me to get irritated with him and his performance. Now the website is doing relatively well. And now I'm like, gosh, you need to spend more time on that. You need to do this. You need to do that, because I want him to work on growing this company and making the income that I see it has the potential to make. And vice versa, as he sees my business growing and he sees what I'm doing, and he sees the income creation he's he's like, hey, Heather, you need to do more of those, calls. How many more coaching clients can you fit in? And suddenly he really wants me to do as much as I can do because he sees the potential for income. So really, it all depends on your relationship for sure. But I have found that once you start actually making money, suddenly your spouse really will encourage you to work in your business more because they see the potential for you to make more money. So something to consider. Next, I think it's really important that when your spouse return home from work, that you talk to them in detail about what you have been doing that day. Because if they are an employee and they see that you've been at home all the time, and unfortunately for most of us, if we're working online, we're on the computer all the time. And we all know that a computer, an iPad, a phone, all of those really are just big toys, right? Like everybody can play any number of different games on these devices. So it's very easy for us to look at that person and say, gosh, are they just playing on the computer? Like, what exactly are they doing? And if you're the person who's spending all your time on the computer, it's very easy for your spouse to say, what are you doing? Are you just playing on your computer? Like, I don't get it. And that's, as the business owner, how frustrating to have that comment made, because you're not playing on your computer. You're working really hard doing things that are, going to really help your business grow. And hearing those comments is really frustrating. So I have found that when I in detail go through a list of the activities that I've done that day, it will really just kind of bring to light that I wasn't just sitting around or I wasn't just playing solitaire. I've had a hard time with social media because obviously we use social media as an outlet to really work on and work with, and really it's a very useful tool in building your business. Well, my husband, especially when I first started my online coaching practice, he would constantly say, why are you on Facebook again? All you do is play around on Facebook. And I'm like, I'm working on Facebook. I'm not playing. But he didn't get that. He didn't see that I was working. And now as I'm able to show him numbers and say, look, this is what I'm doing on Facebook. And look at these clients I've gotten from Facebook. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I get it. But so it's important for you to really look at how are you delivering the information and message to your spouse so that they understand what it is that you're doing. Because for a lot of business owners, they're not sure what to do. And that kind of trepidation of what am I doing? How am I doing it? What should I be doing? All of that insecurity in you just filters down to your spouse. And they are like, well, you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing. How do you expect all of this to work? And really at the end of the day, it comes back to the fact that your spouse is fearful for you and fearful for your personal economic situation, especially if you've quit a job to come and, start your own business. They're concerned that you're going to fail and that you're going to be upset. They're concerned you're not going to create the income that you need to. And they're concerned when you act like you're not sure what you're doing. And chances are, if this is the first time starting a business for you, you may not know what you're doing. And that all of that insecurity can really just multiply their insecurities. So really kind of think about how they're feeling and, really just, I just encourage you to think about it from their perspective and how they're feeling, and then speak to that and say, gosh, I know how this must feel for you. I know that you really like being in control, and I'm sure that it's really hard for you to feel like you're just watching me kind of go down this path where there's a lot of uncertainty. I can see how maybe that would be difficult for you. So really making sure that you're communicating with them in a way that is validating to their feelings is super, super important. I think really at the end of the day, what's most important is for you and your spouse to have a common goals and common direction of where you want to be and where you want to grow to. My husband and I have been thinking about franchising our haircutting business, and we've had to really sit down and say, what do we really, really want in life? And is it that, we want a lot of money? And why do we want a lot of money? Like, if we had a lot of money, what could we do? And then it's like it all gets down to feeling, right? So if you had a lot of money, then maybe you would travel more. Well, when you travel more, what does that give you? It gives you maybe a sense of freedom. It gives you a sense of flexibility. It gives you a sense of adventure. So really, we're not seeking the money. Really, we're looking for freedom, flexibility, and adventure. And is franchising the business what's going to really bring us that? So it's super important for you just to be really clear about what it is that you want. And when you know what you want, and then you're able to go to your spouse and have them get clear on what they want, and then the two of you get really clear on what it is that you want to create in your life together, that helps so much. And it's not an easy thing. And some people are extremely closed to the idea, or they're really unsure about what it is that they want, or their spouse is unclear about what they want. And to some people, just the whole idea of like, why would you even do that can be a challenge. So you have to kind of take baby steps. So depending on where your spouse is at, that might not be something where you sit down and say, okay, I listened to Heather today and she said that we need to do blah, 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 blah. That could be extremely overwhelming to them. So you have to really think about meeting them where they're at and walking through the process to help them get to where they want to be in life and helping them support their journey. And when they feel supported in their journey, then they're going to be a lot more willing to support you in your journey. I hope that this has been really helpful. And if you are a person where you're getting started in your business, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe you're working at home and you're like, I have no idea how to create any consistency here, or I really just don't know how to create the life that I want. I'm feeling like all I do is clean the house and I spend 3 hours a day working on my business and this just isn't working out for me. Please reach out. I would love to speak to you. You can reach me at howtoquitworking.com/coaching. There's just a little form that you fill out there. And if you fill out that form, I will give you a call and I would love to speak with you about where you're at and how we can get you to where you want to be. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you next week on Friday. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on the How to Quit Working show. Tune in next time when we'll talk to another amazing person just like you who is now living the ultimate life of freedom and doing it on their terms. If you want to learn how to quit working and get these episodes delivered directly to you, visit howtoquitworkingshow.com.